Welcome, people, to episode 8 of the All Gunners podcast. Can you believe, guys, that we have lasted to episode 8? Lovely recording again on another evening when Arsenal win. A very, very convincing win against Leicester. We will be absolutely, as always, going through that game and talking through everything from highs and lows and individuals. We'll also be talking about our run of form in the last 10 games. We'll also be talking briefly, if not briefly, maybe a bit more than briefly, about our striker search, because we need to talk about Lacazette. Does he deserve a new deal? And we'll also be previewing the Liverpool game later on next week on a Wednesday. But how can I do all of this stuff alone without my co-host, Zed, big time gunner? How are you doing, my friend?
Hey, Harry. I can't believe we have last 8 episode. Bloody hell, we're doing good, aren't we?
We are
Um,
doing well.
but, hey, mate, it's good. I'm happy, very happy what a performance we put in today. Obviously, we're going to talk about this in a lot more detail, but I'm good, mate. Good. How are you?
Good.
How's the
I'm not.
weekend
I'm
been for
not
you?
too bad. The week's been good, and it's nice to play on a Sunday when the team is fresh. They're absolutely buzzing. They give us confidence. They give us a smile, and it keeps us a bit perked up for this podcast as well, doesn't it? Because
Yeah.
as I say, most of our podcasts since we've started this have been on the end of wins, haven't they?
I think there's a correlation, I think when the All Gunners podcast started, that's when Mikel
There is
Arteta's
an
project
omen,
took
indeed,
over.
isn't there? There's an
Absolutely.
omen.
There should be a superstition for all Gunners fan. Keep this podcast going, otherwise Arsenal may lose again. Not that I'm saying
Absolutely.
this, but
No. I'm with you, and I was actually about to ask if our podcast had anything to do in terms of Lucky Charms. But let's get into it, Zed, because
go on.
lots to discuss today. Brilliant performance from Arsenal. I think there was some really standout performers today. Odegaard was brilliant. He seems to be now really settling in. I confess to you, I was a bit worried about today, as I generally tend to be before an Arsenal game. But from my perspective, remember I told you when I saw you in
Yeah.
person earlier in Birmingham today, is I had a dream that Arsenal won 4-1. Now they didn't quite win 4-1, but they certainly convinced us, as per a 4-1 victory would have done. Tell us, how did that match go for you, Zed?
Oh, mate. You know what? When you said 4-1, I wasn't actually believing that. I think I give Leicester a lot more credit, and I think Brendan Rodgers is a decent manager, but bloody hell, it just didn't look like it today. I think.
I want your thoughts from the lineup,
Yeah.
because I was listening
Go on, man.
in the car to
Yeah.
a podcast that previews the lineup prior to the
Yeah.
game,
Yeah.
and it was on that particular podcast. It was
Hmm.
the bench for Leicester is even stronger than the team out there. There were no Tielemans starting. Daka
Yeah.
didn't start. Then Ndidi didn't start. It seemed like they were preparing for their Conference League match on Thursday, didn't it?
It does seem like that actually. It seemed very much like that. So if just going through it, I think they had Madison, which is good. They had Iheanacho, Albrighton, who's been a mainstay for a while.
Yeah.
Barnes. It did seem like they had a decent team, but obviously that you say, indeed,
Lookman's looked good as well, hasn't he, in
in
recent weeks for
patches, in
Leicester? Yeah,
patches, in
yeah.
patches. I think I'm not that convinced by Lookman yet. Obviously, Tielemans and Ndidi is the two big ones, which I'm
Yes.
surprised. I'm not sure Ndidi might have been injured or just coming back from injury, but
Mm,
not playing Ndidi and not playing Tielemans, who are your main midfielders,
yes.
that was kind of surprising. Daka, though, I didn't expect him to start. I don't think he has started a Premier League game, probably one or two, not many. Madison Barnes is good. Albrighton, as we say, being a mainstay, but it was the midfield that caught me off guard with Dewsbury Hall and Mendy. Obviously, Dewsbury Hall looks very good, but I think he's just. I haven't seen enough of him to comment on it really. And if I'm looking at a game and you know against Arsenal at the Emirates, or if I'm Brendan Rodgers, I'm trying to get for a win.
Yeah,
But I agree with you. It does seem like that Rodgers has put all of his eggs in the Europa Conference League basket and try to
yeah.
qualify from Europe that way or get Europa League by winning that rather than because I
What a
think he's given up
what
on
a
the Premier
fall!
League.
What a fall from grace, eh? From winning the league to resting players for the Conference League that most of us have never even heard of.
Wait, well, think about it this way: is it really fall from grace considering we aren't even in Europe?
Good point.
So,
Good point.
right?
Good point. but it's certainly not being in Europe, and we are going to come on to this later, aren't we? It
Yeah, yeah,
certainly has been helping us. But yeah, my thoughts, as I say, it filled me with a bit of confidence actually
yeah.
when I heard that that was their lineup. I thought, well, actually, if we can't beat a second string Leicester team, all right, be it with a few decent
I don't
names.
think it's second string because I think Schmeichel, Luke Thomas, Ricardo Pereira, that's a decent, starting lineup from Leicester. Obviously, Sionchu, he was great for us
Well, we
today.
were kind of glad he did play, really, didn't we? In the end,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, but I would have expected Vestergaard to start, but Amati again. Leicester fans, let us know, what do you think? Amati, obviously we haven't seen much Leicester Arsenal fans, but Amati looked alright. He actually looked pretty solid. But I also always figured him to be a more defensive midfielder rather than a centre back.
Yeah, I think for me, he looked a little rusty because he clearly hasn't played very many minutes. But having said that, he wasn't awful. I agree with you. He was
Yeah,
okay.
he was
Yeah.
okay. He was decent. He was decent. He was better than Sionchu, obviously.
Yeah, yeah. But as I say, Sionchu, so glad that he did play. But yeah, look, I mean, we started, didn't we, with as we did, if I remember correctly, when we went to the Foxes, did we not
Yeah.
score off a corner in our first goal?
Yeah. I think it was Gabriel's header, but this time, if we're going on to the goals, Leicester have just been absolutely
I know what
terrible.
you're gonna say at set
It's
pieces.
set
Yeah,
pieces.
yeah,
Honestly, I'm looking at Partey's goal, and no Leicester player has even made an attempt. There's three Leicester players around him, and no one's even made an attempt to go with the head. And I'm like, what is this? High
the
school
chap,
football, secondary
the
school
chap that
football?
was marking him, who was playing, I believe, at I want to say right back, no left back, because Ricardo was at right back.
Yeah, Luke
The chap,
Thomas.
that's the one. That's the
Yeah.
one. Now Thomas actually originally was marking him. He didn't track him all the way. He in fact moved forward, so his position was completely when the ball came over his head.
hmm
Partey had a free header, didn't he?
Oh, absolutely free, man. You know what? I actually felt sorry for Schmeichel at that point. I respect Schmeichel. I think he's one of the good goalkeepers in the Premier League, and he's been very consistent. But honestly, as a captain and as a goalkeeper, I felt sorry for him. Nobody even made an attempt. It was such a routine. It was like a playground drill.
Yeah,
Martinelli just swings it in, front post, easy header in. It wasn't. It was like they weren't even trying. But
yeah,
just
yeah,
to give Arsenal the credit, the 10 minutes of spell leading up to it was very, very good. We
yeah,
had them under pressure from the get go. They
yeah.
weren't in the game. It was all Arsenal's way. And
Yeah,
we'll get onto that a bit later on. But
of
bloody
course.
hell, Odegaard was just running the show.
Yeah,
He was just
yeah.
so. It was
We
mesmerizing to watch
we
that guy.
keep comparing him, don't we, week in week out to Özil, and
I think he's better, man. Honestly, in terms of
he,
he's a
he's he's
modern Özil.
he's
He's a modern
exactly. I
Özil.
was just going to say that his output in terms of is getting there because obviously it's a difficult comparison, but his
Yeah,
work
of course.
rate off the ball. Özil could only dream of being having a work rate like that.
Well, to be fair to Özil, he did used to run a lot, but
Yeah,
the problem was he wasn't directed into what to do. He wasn't pressing people. He would make runs. He would try
he'd
to
close
attempt
space,
presses.
wouldn't he? He'd
He
close
closed
space.
space.
Yeah,
Of course, he
yeah,
closed space, but he wasn't doing what Odegaard is doing, which is picking up these pockets of spaces, doing the back heels and the fancy touches that Özil used to do. But at the same time, guy is a pressing monster. But let's not get onto him. Let's get on to the next key point of the game, which for me was Ramsdale save. What do you think?
wow, wow, Ramsdale. I mean, if ever you need a goalkeeper to pull a save out when, because it was a period of the game, wasn't it, Zed, where we were under the cough. We were
Yeah, yeah,
actually we actually somebody explained this, and I agree that we kind of at that period of the game went into. That's why this section has got highs and lows.
yeah,
That was our low area, sort of a period of the game, because we kind of went back to how we were in the beginning of the season, where we would take 1-0 leads and we'd then drop off and let teams
yeah,
come onto
yeah,
us. Now, you
yeah.
could argue that may have been partly our fault because we allowed them onto us, but you could also say that Leicester had found their feet at that point. But nevertheless, they got into the game, and you know something, the header from that corner. I
hmm
actually saw the angle from the Sky Sports cameras
Yeah.
behind Brendan Rodgers. He was actually celebrating. He was celebrating.
He thought it was in.
Well, I thought it was in, to be honest with you. And then obviously everybody's seen it because it's all going around Twitter, and it was actually
Yeah.
within featured in the show when he'd actually said, "Wow," he lit everyone read him. I think he did that on purpose. He knew everybody, and wow, indeed, this is England's number one
Number
keeper. And
one.
I tell you
Absolutely, man.
something, Zed, finally on this for me.
Go on.
If that fraud, I said it on the last podcast, if that fraud from Everton even makes the England squad, right, and
Yeah.
Ramsdale's not in goal between those sticks, honestly, there is a failure in the England selection process because Ramsdale is not just in this game and keeping a clean sheet as well, because there were other saves as well, but that
Mm.
one, Ramsdale has been immense. And arguably, if you look at periods of games in
Yeah.
terms of, it could have been 1-1 at that point.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Games change with
Momentum would have
goals.
shifted.
Yeah,
Momentum
yeah,
would have shifted. Yeah.
absolutely. So, he has a shout for man of the match on that save alone.
Yeah. It's the second successive games that he's played against Leicester back to back, and he's made a world class save.
Yes.
Right? And this one was just absolutely reaction timing, and he gets a good big bear claw to it. It's not like a palm away, which we've seen sometimes Leno do, which is like he gets a hand to it, but it doesn't get enough strength in his hand
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah,
agility where he blocks
yeah,
the shot.
yeah,
We saw this. I used to love this when Emmy Martinez does it. If you
yeah.
ever see him play, he gets a big
The
paw.
agility in his
The
body.
It's
Yeah,
not just
yeah,
the agility, but it's the strength of his hand,
yeah,
right? He catches the ball or he pulls it away like he actually ball ain't going through my hand, right?
yeah,
That's the kind of thing. It's that confidence in his hand to say, no, that's it. He doesn't go any further. But
yeah,
again, that was key moment of the game, as I say. And I completely agree with you. He could have shifted the momentum. If it gets 1-1, Leicester are back. They're on top. They've got more possession. They've got more off the ball. Arsenal back in a way, So yeah, it could have completely shifted. But that's where you need your world class goalkeeper. And I
yeah.
do say world class because he's been very consistent throughout the season now, right?
I can't disagree with you, and many of our listeners may say, "Come on, that's a bit far," but
Maybe, yeah, but
he's certainly proving to be
he is.
in that direction, isn't he?
Absolutely. And the age of 23, bloody hell, keepers play till 40.
Yeah, yeah.
He's
Well,
literally at the start of his career.
that's why we need to also talk about you know and this is maybe for a different pod, but we need to talk about the recruitment at some point, like a whole pod on it, because
Yeah, yeah, we will do.
there was many doubters on Ramsdale, and maybe ourselves included, certainly myself, but he's proving them wrong, and that's, I think, partly why he's having such a good season. He
Mhm.
is that kind of personality, isn't he,
Yeah,
where
yeah,
he thrives off, he doesn't lose any confidence whatsoever. He thrives on, come on, let me show you.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's the mentality part of it, right? I think what people have to realize is Ramsdale being relegated twice. The
Yes.
mentality needed to face that crazy amount of shots that he faced back to back, right, was insane.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy was fighting tooth and nail day in, day out in the Premier League against the biggest team who were just peppering him all day,
Yeah.
right? I think the mentality required to do that was immense. And now that he's come to a club which is more established, is fighting for Champions League spots, right?
Yeah.
He's growing in confidence, he's growing in stature, and he's like, you know what? I'm liked here. It
Yeah.
may have been a challenge to begin, but people are backing me because I worked hard to get here,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
And
Right?
he's proving the doubters wrong,
And
isn't he?
he's proving the doubters wrong. And once he's got the fans on his side now, he's
Yeah.
loving it even more.
Absolutely.
He took
And
the
it can
challenge and he came through.
finally, the scary thing about Ramsdale is
Yeah,
this, isn't it? That he can only get better.
yeah. It's the potential, man. It's the
The
crazy
ceiling
potential.
is so high, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
So
just insane.
let's move on to goal number three in the game.
Two, really.
Two in the game, rather. Yes,
Yeah.
sorry. Um, was that a penalty for you?
Yes, and there's only one reason, right? It's the intent. Sionchu is literally, I think it's reflex, right? It's the playground reflex that everyone has.
There's one disgusting angle of it, isn't there? Because
Yeah,
they were checking it for so many minutes, weren't they, in the
yeah,
beginning? But there was that dirty angle, wasn't there, where it actually looks like, and he probably wasn't, but the angle just looks like he clawed
it,
it.
yeah. It makes it look a lot worse. I think, to be fair to Sionchu, and this is where I'm gonna, give him a bit of a break. It's it's a reaction. It's a momentary reaction, lack
Yeah,
of reaction, where
yeah,
he's like, crap, the ball's about to go into my net. I can't let it. And he pulls his arm out. Now we know with the handball rules, if you put your arm far from your body,
Yeah,
even if you scrape the ball, just if you
it's
nail
seen
it,
as an unnatural position, isn't it?
exactly,
Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
natural position,
yeah.
and it was going to be a penalty. But I have to give credit. You know what? This is going to be probably very rare in the football world, and it's probably the first time in our short podcast. But I'm going to give the ref a credit here. He didn't send him off, and that was a good decision.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking at the time, though. I mean, I know the reason for that is because of someone on the line. The two things for me on that is number one, you could argue that the hand stopped the header. We
Hmm.
don't know whether it would have reached the, the hand might have put the ball in the direction of the defender who cleared it off the line. And number two,
Hmm.
I'm going to say this, and then many of our listeners will agree with this, is that if that was Chaka, that's a sending off all day, isn't it?
That would have been a straight red, 3 games out.
And banned for 3 games, even though it wouldn't have met the criteria. So that's the thing, really, for me. But yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I think it was a
Yeah,
stone cold penalty, and I
yeah.
actually think the ref had a good game overall. Actually,
Yeah, the ref was fair. The ref was good. That's what I'm saying. Give credit where credit is due, right? He was consistent. He took his time. When VAR obviously a bit longer, I don't know why VAR can't be like we have the DRS system in cricket. I know
yeah,
some people may not realize this, but cricket also has been using this technology for about 15 years now,
yeah,
and you can hear the umpires talk,
yeah.
right? I don't know why they don't do that.
Well,
It would just make life.
they don't want the corruption to be heard by 60,000 fans and the rest of the. I'm messing, guys. I don't want
The
to be
million
taken.
people watching.
I was going to say I don't want to be taken to court by the Premier League. Look, before we move on to the next one, Zed, I
Yeah,
want to
go
get
on.
a quick word from you on Thomas Partey. How brilliant was he? And is he beginning? Because I think he is. Is he
Mhm.
beginning to show some consistency now?
Yes, he is, and I think just like the entire Arsenal team around him, he has grown into that defensive holding midfielder that we
Yeah,
needed, right? Someone who breaks down play, who gets ahead of the ball, who protects the back four, who protects Gabriel and Ben White, but at the same time, he progresses the ball. I'm not gonna say it, I don't want to say it, but he's reminding me of a great old player who's now currently a manager in the Premier League. But that's as far as I'll go.
that's a
People may
very,
figure it
very.
out.
There is a very, very big comparison.
Very, I'm saying seem like he's not there yet. He's not even close,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
he's going into that trajectory.
yeah,
But
yeah.
that's why I'm not going to even name. I'm not going to say anything further because
Let's
that
not
way
go there.
blasphemy. That's be
Let's not
blasphemy,
let's not
right?
go there.
Exactly.
We may have unsubscribers by the end of this pod. Let's not go there.
Yeah,
But
let's not
no,
go there. But
I
he's
can.
going in the right
He's
direction.
certainly the jigsaw piece in this team that is now helping us move forward, which is what way we
Which
come
is what we
into
needed.
exactly. This is where we come on to the next part of the pod, and I
Yeah,
want to pick your brains on this one, Zed,
yeah,
because
on,
let's be honest here now, and
yeah,
let's
on.
talk the first 3 games of the season. They were
Oh yeah.
talking about relegation, and they were
Hmm.
talking about, I think we were something like 9 goals conceded and 0 points
None scored.
and none scored in the first 3 games.
Depressing that was, man.
We sit in towards the sort of middle of March now, with a 10 game run, which has seen us basically beat rivals such as West Ham. I
Hmm.
know that we had the Tottenham game postponed, and
Postponed. Yeah,
it's a shame because I think we would have loved to play Tottenham in
love to play them.
this run. But I want you to just break down for
Hmm.
our listeners and just remind everyone, certainly the last 10 games and our uptake in form, where this team is now and what direction this team is going in. Because I
Yeah.
think we're on an upward trajectory at the moment.
Hmm.
And there's some significant wins in there that I think, let's say in the prep we were talking about starting the last 10 games against West Ham.
Yep.
There's been some big wins in there. There's the
Big
5
wins.
5-0 away
Way
win
Norwich.
at
Yeah.
Norwich. There was the Leeds win 4-1
4-1. Yeah.
away as well. So I'm not just talking about, there's been, our home form is generally strong, has been
Yeah.
over the years. The Emirates, I don't think you quite call this a fortress
Not
at the
yet. Not
Emirates,
yet. But it's
not
getting
yet,
there.
but it's getting there.
Yeah.
But I think the really key thing in this run is some of those away wins. Talking about Leicester away as well, that
Yeah.
certainly took me by surprise. Talk us through that one, Zed, in terms of
Okay.
the last 10 games and our
Yeah.
form.
Okay, so I'm going to break it down into two things, right? So let's take a look at the first one, which is last 10 games coming into this Leicester game, right? So that Arsenal had 25 points and 16 plus 16 goal difference. Now, remember, Harry just said how significant that is. We were at 0 points, 9 goal difference. We are now, before this game today, 25 points from the last 10 games and 16 plus goal difference, which, by the way, put Arsenal above Man City, above Liverpool, right?
In form in that
In form,
period of
in
time.
that
Yeah,
period of
yeah,
time, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Taking the Leicester game into account, Arsenal have taken 26 points off the available 30. So there was the loss to Man City, which we all know as Arsenal fans we didn't deserve it. Actually, I was very happy with that performance. I don't care. I don't care we lost. We lost 3 points. I don't care. That performance set the standard
yeah.
to what it was, right?
What
It
did
was
I say
bloody
to you
brilliant.
today in person about that performance?
Yeah.
That it
It
was
was
the
best
most
performance, man.
pleasing performance that Arsenal have played in the last however many years,
5
honestly.
years, I would say. five
Yeah,
years
yeah,
plus, yeah.
yeah,
It looked like we went toe to toe with Man City and they got away by some shoddy refereeing and lucky goal at the end,
yeah,
right? That's how they won. And you know what? I'm happy with that because that's one of the best teams in Europe and they struggled.
yeah,
People will say, yeah, they were playing in Europe but they had tight rates. I don't care, right? I don't care. We still put up a very good performance against a team that usually comes in and slaps us 5-0,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Then there was that's 3 points dropped, by the way. The other points that we dropped was against Burnley. Right, so that's 2 points dropped that we did
yeah,
against Burnley. So we
yeah.
got 1 point from
An
the
off
draw.
day in the office, wasn't it? That
And
was.
an off day, yeah, but we know what Burnley's about, right? We know
Yeah,
what Sean
yeah,
Dyche's thing is. 10 men, 11 men behind the ball, knock along when you get the chance, right? He's done this. Honestly, I think Sean Dyche is probably the most underrated manager in the Premier League because he's managed to keep a club which has the same budget as probably what Aubameyang's pay package was, right?
yeah, yeah,
Right, at Arsenal in the Premier League consistently. You know what? I rate Sean Dyche for that. It's
yeah,
honestly
yeah.
just amazing. So yeah, the run of form, they've been very significant victories after that. We had the double over Wolves. Wolves have been looking very, very good
Oh
team.
no, that was
Honestly,
significant.
it
That
was
was
very, very significant. It was a change in the way Arsenal played. Obviously, people will say now that, oh, we're not in any cups, we're playing one game a week. Yeah, so what? But that's still a hard team to
you've
beat.
still got to beat who's in
You
front of you, haven't you?
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. And
yeah.
then there was obviously the
Let
game
me
against.
just let you extend on that, Zed. That
Go
it's
on.
not even just the victories; it's the and these things, these soft factors as well, breed confidence. It's the way in which that last minute goal at home, having
Yeah,
the Emirates roar Lacazette on as soon as he scored. It's that kind of stuff,
it's
isn't
the
it? That
feeling.
takes
It's the
us.
feeling.
That takes the team into that unbeatable kind of
It's the next level, right?
invincible kind of feeling.
Oh,
Yeah,
big
yeah.
big
Well,
words
well,
there.
sorry. I mean, I didn't mean it in that way, but I meant it in that kind of. We're almost unbeatable at the moment, and let's carry this on.
Yeah, I think honestly, for a team that is on an average age of 24, which is by far, which is what like a year younger
And
than
with
the
the
next.
youngest managers, Ed, don't forget to add that
Yeah,
in. Yeah,
exactly. Youngest manager, youngest team in the Premier League. The potential is scary. That's what it is. And what we are proving now is what Arteta's lacked over the years, which is consistency.
yeah,
He has now got consistency to back it up. He's doing great things. And honestly, I want to shout out a couple of players. Party, obviously, you've shouted out.
yeah.
He's been excellent. He's allowed bloody Granit Xhaka to play that number 8 role.
I mean,
He's now,
today I have to say, sorry
oh
to
my
cut you
God,
there. I saw him on the edge of the box. What the hell is Xhaka doing there? But the commentators covered it, didn't they? That I mean, he was almost sort of nearly the furthest man forward.
he was. And you know what? That's his job now because Arteta's given him that. You see,
Yeah,
the thing is
you are right
that
there. Yeah.
that's the role where Xhaka plays for his country when he's
Is it
captaining them.
really? I
Yeah,
don't really watch too much of the
he
Swiss team. Yeah,
just watch one of the games in Euros where Xhaka was completely running that
yeah,
game and he
yeah.
seemed world class, honestly. And that's what I think what Arteta's trying to get out of him, give him a bit more freedom to move the ball forward.
Chaka won't be mentioned by many of our fans today, but
No,
I
number one.
have to say, and I wanted to say this when I was making notes that the way that he adapts his game, just as what you're saying, backing
Mm,
that point up, is just the way he sits in their pockets for those little triangles, ready for the ball, ready to play the ball behind, that kind of ticky-tacky one-touch
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
play. I think he had a really good game today,
He
and,
did.
and,
He
and
did.
to be honest with you, I think he might have. Gosh, we might be still in my dream. He might have not had a yellow card today as well. I think.
No, I don't think he got a yellow card.
Yeah,
That's big. That's Granit
that's
Xhaka not
massive.
getting
When
a
when
yellow
when
card.
Chaka stays on the pitch, I mean, he's a good player, and I know
He's,
he's
he's a
not
decent
everyone's
player. Like,
favourite, and I know obviously what he did with the fans and the fingers up a few years ago. You know, obviously that should have been dealt with then. It wasn't. He's still playing for us. He is. You know, Chaka and Partey in that midfield. We win more games with them in that midfield than when they're not
yeah,
together.
absolutely. I think that's the thing going forward, and you're gonna need to find, or Arteta's gonna need to find a significant player to upgrade Xhaka.
He's
You know,
he's going to be hard to fill.
well, I think that there are a couple of reasons, and when we get onto that podcast of trying to
Yes.
replace
Yeah.
people, honestly, but I'll say this: I'll put in the Gunners' heads right now, push for it, start tweeting for it. Calvin Phillips, because when Leeds go down, trust me, that's a player that you want to get.
Yeah, I think there's going to be probably much bigger takers than us in the
Man United are going to
yeah,
go after him, yeah,
yeah,
but
yeah,
that is if they can get their shit together, which I don't know if they will. So first come first serve. That's where the market is. If you're in the Champions League
yeah.
and Man United aren't, where do you think Calvin Phillips wants to go? Champions League football or no
This
Champions
is
League
this
football?
this is true, but we're not there yet, Zed. So again,
No, no,
let's
no.
not
Of
get
course,
too
of course.
gassed up about that. But yeah, Calvin Phillips, Rice as well. Um,
Rice is going to Chelsea if they can afford him.
Well,
After
and you see, this is the beauty of football, isn't it? You know,
yeah,
these things are a done deal one week, and then the
yeah.
week after, there's nearly a world war, and everything goes to shit.
Well,
Enough of the
Vladimir Putin.
politics. Yes, exactly. Let's get back to our
Okay, let's get
subject.
back to Arsenal. Yeah,
So we were talking about, weren't we, form, Zed?
yeah. So
So
yeah,
yeah, talk
yeah, yeah.
to me
So
about the form.
I think the form is basically clear. Arsenal just one of the on-form teams in the Premier League now, and we'll come on to the Liverpool bit towards the end. But I was just gassing some players up, and I think the one guy who I have to absolutely give a shout out today, who for me was by the way the man of the match, and this could be the last thing on the segment, but Martin Odegaard. He
What a
has
player!
been a sleeper hit of a signing. All signings have been brilliant, but I think people didn't rate him. Said, "Oh, he's been here before. We've seen him. He's okay.
Yeah,
You know what?
he's an
30 mil."
interesting one because when he played for us on loan,
Yeah.
let's be fair, Zed here, he didn't reach these heights, did he?
No, but remember, he
There
came
were
in halfway through the
glimpses.
season.
There were
There were glimpses.
glimpses. But I mean, I
The
was
West Ham
watching.
game.
Yes, and exactly. But that was
Yeah.
one game, and I was watching highlights of Odegaard for when he was at Real Sociedad on loan, if
Yeah.
that's the correct team that he
Yeah. Yeah.
was
That's the
playing
one.
for, and his assist numbers were really really good, and his link up play, that was the kind of player I was comparing him to on
Hmm.
that loan spell for us.
Yeah.
But he was in the team, out of the team. He didn't have a great run, and I think that was partly the gaffer kind of showing him that, look, you don't just come here and play, you
Yeah.
earn your
Exactly.
place.
Yeah. You earn your place.
And I think, look, this season again, it started a little bit jittery. It wasn't the first name on the team sheet. Smith
No.
Rowe
No.
was playing in that 10 space, but since he's had this run of games, he
Oh
hasn't
my
looked back,
God.
has he?
No, he's just getting more. You know what the thing with him is? When every time I watch him play, he is just so silky smooth. Honestly, he creates shit out of nothing. The
Yeah.
little turns, the back heels, the clever little
Did you see that
passes.
pass today, the non-look pass to Saka, when
Yeah, it's
Saka
just
was just planted on the right hand side? And
yeah.
I mean, he wasn't even in the screen, to be honest with you. The camera had to move over because the pass wasn't on.
No,
You know.
that's the kind of stuff we need, right? Arsenal have been lacking creativity for a long time since Özil was banished to the sides. Let's just
Yeah.
call it what it was, right?
Yeah.
He was banished to the sides, and this guy, he does exactly what the manager asks for, right? He works his balls off essentially, right? And he does the creativity. Just to give you a stat, by the way, he created 6 chances in this game alone today
Yeah. The highest of any Arsenal player in the season, isn't it?
in the season,
Yeah.
and that's insane. He Watford game, people were saying, did he mean it? Did he not mean it? Based on today's performance, I'm with you, mate. He meant it.
Yeah. Yeah. I know he did. I know he did.
Yeah.
He's just. I mean, Graham Brooks, our guy who we've had on the podcast, Tactical Insight guy,
Yeah.
he says about Odegaard that he's probably the most informed player in the Premier League right now.
Mm, mm.
Big,
He's
big,
been he's
big
been good.
talk. Big
Yeah, big
talk.
time. No,
Yeah,
no, but he's been good, right? He's doing the pressing, he's doing the work, and you know when if you look at Arsenal's defensive shape, right? You brought Graham on, so I'm going to touch on that. When they go into the back 4-3-2 kind of like 5-3-2 kind of shape, right? Odegaard and Lacazette are honestly pressing from the front.
yeah,
It is insane how this team is drilled and they're
yeah,
working hard. And you know what thing is? They may not be world beaters right now, but what I love about it is that all of them are so young that give them 2, 3 years to grow,
yeah.
and they should be challenging for
Imagine,
stuff.
imagine these players when they're collectively in their prime.
Exactly,
It's frightening.
exactly. And by the way, a footballer's prime, 27 to
Yeah,
30,
yeah, yeah.
right?
Absolutely,
So these
absolutely.
guys are 5 years away from their prime.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No,
That's that's, that's insanity.
I'm with you there. I think we're creating this pod at really, really interesting times where the tide is finally beginning to turn for Arsenal,
Finally,
and
finally.
I think it's a beautiful time to be an Arsenal fan. So thank you for that, Zed.
Oh,
I think you really kind of put that into perspective, really, there in terms of where Arsenal are at the moment, what they've done in these last 10 games, and actually, I think you like me, we see game by games and we're thinking, gosh, okay, maybe that was a bit of a fluke, or we won that one by just a lot of those games have been won by just one goal
mm,
margins,
yeah,
and some of them have been, we've had, as every football match does, have those kind of moments where we've got away with it. Ramsdale's come to
key
our
moments.
rescue.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. But I think after these 10 games, it was the right point to preview them, necessarily not to say individually, but as a whole, to be able to say this isn't a fluke at the moment, is it?
No, no. I think we're seeing the project finally flourish, I think is the right way to go about it. I think Arsenal's strategy has been correct. Arteta and Edu have proven themselves that they are going about it the right way.
Yeah,
Football is no longer the team. I think PSG, or the game, PSG proved it rather. Football is no longer the game where you can just buy Galacticos and expect to win. No Galacticos team ever actually wins much. I think even Madrid's one probably only won 2 or 3 trophies, right? It's not like City's or Barcelona's team under Pep Guardiola. All of those players became Galacticos playing in that team. They weren't
yeah,
Galacticos when they bought them in. So it's not about buying world class players and hoping it works. It's about buying the right player with the right profile, with the right attitude
yeah,
that fits the system of the
yeah.
manager. And you know what? People may think, bloody hell, that's basic, but so many clubs get it wrong. Man United, for example.
I was literally just gonna say that, and we were discussing this in person when we saw
Yes,
each
we
other,
were.
that we when we make our comparisons now, and again, we're not at the end of the season, so only that is the key time to, but when we make our comparisons, it's fair to say now, isn't it, that we may not have better players than
No,
those
no.
teams around us, i.e. Manchester United. I can't throw Tottenham in that, to be quite honest with
I
you.
think even with Tottenham, they have some properly good players.
Selected players, but when we
Yeah.
talk about now squads and teams,
Hmm.
we are, and I can say this, we are a better team than Manchester United. We are
Yes.
a better team than Tottenham. I mean, we
Yes.
always have been, so that it doesn't even need to be said. But I think to end on that one, and many of our listeners will be saying, what is wrong with Hazard today? He has not mentioned Lacazette once,
Go
right?
on then.
And everybody
Plug.
knows that Lacazette is my guy. And I should have mentioned him because he scored a lovely penalty. But there's no need to go on about that because our next segment is about our striker search. And we
Yes.
thought when we were in person today that we need to get this stuff off our chest now because we're coming towards a run in, towards the end of the
Hmm.
season, and I'm going to say this as well to you, Zed, that rumours following today's
Hmm.
match are flying around about Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah.
I'm not. We talk about strikers in a second, but there's also the rumours around why Tielemans never came on. But they are rumours, so we're not going to go into them just yet. We're talking about strictly strikers at the moment, Zed. Now there has been certainly this week after Lacazette's star performance last week, where he made two beautiful assists for the team to win against Watford.
Hmm.
About a potential new deal for Lacazette. The
Yeah.
gaffer was also quizzed about this in his press conference. He didn't say no. He said, as he always often does, let's wait and see. Which,
Yeah.
for me, if you ask me, it leaves the door open. I think that the strategy could be at the end of the
Yeah.
season that whereas we were searching for two new strikers, there
Hmm.
may be a potential window of actually sitting down and renegotiating with Lacazette again,
Yeah.
and then turning that potential striker search into one. Because I think if Lacazette, with how he is the glue in the team at the moment and how everything is kind of around him, so he is holding the ball up and the runners are off him, is
Hmm.
that I think that the boss is looking at this and thinking, do you know what? This can continue to work. This is doing
Yeah.
really well. So we don't know. We're only speculating at the moment, but let's talk about this in the context of both. Let's say
Yeah.
that Lacazette does get a new deal and ends up staying for the next couple of seasons.
Hmm.
Who should our strikers be? But also, let's think about if Lacazette does go, because let's face it,
Yeah.
with where he'll be as a free agent and what he may be able to offer to other big clubs across Europe,
Yeah.
he may be offered a deal that is more lucrative than staying at Arsenal. So let's talk
Yes.
about the context of two. Let's say that we were going to be talking about bringing in two strikers. Let's talk about, Zed, which strikers they could be, who we've been linked to, and in your view, who they should be.
Okay. Okay. I think
Big
that's a
question,
big
massive question.
question. Yeah. It's a very big question. But let's start off with the main striker. So let's assume Lacazette leaves. You need out and out starting striker, right? Now Arsenal have been linked with a whole host of players. I think they've been linked with João Felix, they've been linked with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Some people throwing Ollie Watkins in the what you call hat, and then Rio Ferdinand, shout out to him, throwing Gabi Jesus from Man City into the hat as well. So, do you know what I thought? I thought I'll have a look at all of them. I'm not going to look at all of them, but let's look at a select few of them because literally every striker alive, breathing, or playing has been linked
Throwing
with Arsenal.
Jesus' name in there would may also have the context behind Haaland moving to City. There's rumours today
Could be,
about
yeah,
Haaland agreeing some kind of deal. Again, just rumours, so
just rumors, yeah.
don't shoot the messenger. But yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Jesus would be certainly an interesting name. But yeah, carry on.
It would be interesting. But as I said, that's the one that Rio Ferdinand kind of put it out there. But let's look at some that obviously we like as well, and some that have been linked. So obviously Dominic Calvert-Lewin, if Everton go down, which currently looks like they will, a Toffees fan, honestly, how are you feeling? Tell us in the comments. I would honestly, I would like to know. You've never been relegated. How does that actually feel like? I never want to be in that position. Honestly, I feel sorry for you guys. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Ollie Watkins from Aston Villa, right? Gabby Jesus, as we talked about, Jonathan David, and then everyone's favourite, who everyone keeps thinking Arsenal will go for, which I don't think Arsenal will go for, is João Felix, right? So let's look at it in the context of what we want from these players, right? Arsenal have been successful with a player like Alex Lacazette as the number 9 or the striker, and not Aubameyang, right? Hazard, what do you think? Aubameyang was doing decent in Barcelona, but I think people need to move on. That's not the striker that we want. Yeah,
Well, again, comparisons with Aubameyang can keep continue, don't they? Because again, I believe he scored for Barcelona, and I believe Piers Morgan has also tweeted. Everybody knows Piers Morgan is an Arsenal fan as well, but Piers Morgan keeps on trying to light this fire of, oh, you see what Aubameyang could have done over here. And I have to just repeat that actually what Piers Morgan's tweet and don't get me wrong, I would hate to plug somebody like Piers Morgan, but just in response to him, if he ever does catch us and become one of our subscribers on the Organist podcast, um, is actually what Aubameyang is doing out there in Barcelona, and what we're doing here as a team, um, just shows how good that deal was for all parties. Because
hmm
let's face it, none of us can ever say that we or Aubameyang did anything. He loved the fans, and we absolutely loved him as well, right?
Yep.
So actually, rather than cause beef on the issue and make comparisons and say, "Oh, look how great he's doing out there," let's be honest and let's look at the facts. He wasn't doing it at Arsenal.
No.
Whether his tools were down or whether he just wasn't fitting the system, it wasn't happening here. So the point here is the fact that he's scoring over in Barcelona is great for Aubameyang, but forget Barcelona and forget Aubameyang. We are smashing it as a team, right? Everybody said who's going to score the goals, who's going to score the
Mhm.
goals. Well, actually,
Everyone.
what taking Aubameyang as the focal point in the team has done is actually what we've been screaming to be done for the team
Mhm.
for months and months and months since the season started, that we're not
Yep.
getting enough goals from midfielders. Thomas Partey comes on, scores today, right? Lacazette's not scoring goals. Well, he got a penalty and he dispatched it beautifully today. Okay, we'd like to see Lacazette scoring more for open play. I think that will happen. I think this is a model, a system that's improving. But the goals are still coming and we're still winning games. Are we missing Aubameyang? I think we're not.
No, I completely agree with you, Harry. I think we're not missing them, and I think people need to move on.
Yeah,
We love Aubameyang. He's been a great servant. He did good things. He won us the FA Cup, and you know what? I love the guy. He's always had a smile on his face, and he plays with passion. I hope, and honestly, I really, really hope that he smashes it at Barcelona. Absolutely gets a bucket load of goals next season as well. Just absolutely smashes it, pulls up trees, and be one of the
absolutely.
best
I'll be
players in the
very
world.
happy for him as well. Yeah,
Absolutely, I've been watching him since Dortmund, right? Always loved seeing him play. The way he scores, the way he moves around. Loved him in Arsenal, and I wish him the best of luck. But let's get back to the main topic, yeah,
yeah,
which is finding our next striker. So let's have a quick look. So so we're looking at a starting striker, right? So I'm not gonna go on the games played. I'm gonna look at the games started, right?
yeah,
So Dominic Calvert-Lewin, he's got injury issues, so he's only started 9 games
yeah.
and scored about 3 goals. So he's not been.
It's a difficult season to compare,
It's
though, isn't
very
it?
yeah, it's a very difficult season. So for last season, for reference, by the way, he was very good. He started 32 games and scored 16 goals, which is
Yeah,
quite respectable, right?
yeah, definitely.
Right. So Ollie Watkins, I love the guy. He works hard, off the ball, on the ball. He's never injured. He's strong. He's physical. He
He
gets in the
knows where the
face.
goal is,
He
doesn't he?
knows where the
Yeah.
goal is. And you know what? I love the guy, honestly.
I hear he's a gunner as well.
Maybe, but I just think it's
Could
going to
be
be
a
a
rumor.
difficult.
Could be
Could
a
be a
rumor.
rumor,
Yeah.
but what I'm saying is he's got 7 goals and 1 assist today. By the way, I'll have all these charts and things for people to look at, all the stats for Ollie and all the other strikers that we're looking at right now,
Brill.
so our fans can look at what I'm talking about, not just some reading out of a chart and a book. But the thing is, again, Ollie's been good. He's been good in that system where he plays, but he's been playing off the left, off the right. He's sharing space with Danny Ings, so but he's been good. But I just think it's Villa are a notoriously difficult customer. I don't think they'll sell,
Yeah.
so it could be a
And they've
difficult one.
it's not like they have money issues, is it, Villa?
Exactly, exactly. So I don't think that's going to be realistic. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, on the other hand, I think if Everton go down or
It's
barely
it's
survive, he's
probably the most realistic
it's
now
more realistic. Yeah.
of all of the targets that have been talked about, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, there's another guy who's very realistic, by the way, and that's the one uh, that Rio Ferdinand's been talking about, which is Gabby Jesus from Man City. I think he's been there 5+ years now. Never been a starter. I don't know what's going on. Pep never really likes to play
Still
him
very
through the
young
middle.
though, isn't he? Is he what,
24,
24
23,
now?
24.
Okay, okay,
He's
yeah.
not very old, right? He's quite young. Remember, he came in
So
to
he
Man
fits
City.
the age profile, doesn't he?
He fits the age profile, and he's got bucket load of Premier League experience, right?
Yeah,
And just to give you a stat, him and Lacazette have the same number of assists
yeah,
this season, which is 7. So
yeah.
just to give you a point, right? And he's been playing off the wing and attacking midfielder, so he fits the bill. From a starting striker, if we were to replace Lacazette, honestly, I would say
We
Gabriel
could do
Jesus.
we could do worse, couldn't we? We could
I,
do
I
worse.
don't think we
Yeah,
can do better, really.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's probably the opposite.
The also what you've maybe forgot to mention there, Zed, is the Arteta factor, having the fact
Arteta,
that
exactly.
he's worked with him.
He's worked with him as his assistant manager, so he knows what kind of player he is. And City will probably do a good deal, so I think probably up to 50 million, probably even less, you can get him.
Yeah.
right? Because especially if City bring on Haaland or Harry Kane or whoever they're going to bring in to absolutely bulldoze this league, right? Because that's basically what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Unless Liverpool are signing Mbappe, love it.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
would be
Yeah.
great. But Gabby Jesus is another realistic one, which I think for 50 million City would sell.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
maybe that's a fair. That's quite a price, but you've got to probably look at his age and experience as well within that.
Age, experience, profile, right? But thing is, that's if you're gonna want a starting striker in this team in this day and age, people were talking 80 million for Vlahovic and 80 million for bloody Isak. We could, who I think, who I rate, hey, worse than Jesus. Jesus is a Premier League proven
You're getting
striker.
two Premier League proven strikers in there, aren't you?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, he's not
Is
the
that your
biggest goal
pick
scorer.
then, Zed? Is it the two Premier League boys then, Jesus and DCL? Is
Well,
that
no,
is
I think if you're gonna get a starting striker, right? So this is with the scenario that Lacazette is staying,
yeah,
right? Obviously, we've got Jonathan David who've been linked with as well. I don't know how realistic that is, but I've got the stats for people to look at.
yeah,
Um, but so I'm not going to read them out. And obviously, we've got Lacazette in there as well. Now, if we were to pick two Premier League strikers to replace Lacazette gone,
yeah,
right? Gabby Jesus is still my pick,
yeah,
right? The other one, I think you could probably pick up one of the guys from the lower team. So let's see, Burnley goes out. Let's say they get relegated.
yeah.
They've just bought a great player called Ruud Weghorst.
He's not bad, is he? He's not bad.
He's a
I like him.
giant. I
And
love him.
and he's a hard-working boy, isn't he?
He's a hard-working boy, right? He's a bit older, right? So he's 29.
Yeah,
But if you need an option off the bench who's basically 6'5" and a half,
yeah.
kick some, do Route One
A
stuff,
Giroud kind of
a Giroud kind of one
role. Yeah,
role, right off the bench, last minute option. You want some what you call air threat. You want to change it up a bit because you need experience. You can't just have old kids, right? We could probably do a good deal for him for about 20 mil because Burnley will be making money. They paid like 17, 16 mil for him, right?
yeah.
20 mil, get a deal done. He could come in.
He looks good. He looks sharp. He does look good.
He
Yeah.
looks very good. I think for me, we could he could be a very very good backup striker.
You mentioned Daka as well, didn't you? He's not a bad player.
Yeah, but Daka ain't Leicester ain't letting Daka go on, making Leicester sell his bloody like pulling up.
Again, they're similar to the Villa situation, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's not gonna happen because Daka seems like the Vardy replacement. So I don't think he's gonna come in. The other player who I think we can probably get is uh, Emmanuel Dennis,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So he's 24 by the way.
Over at Watford.
Watford, yeah,
Yeah.
24. He's been good as a backup striker. It's his first time in the Premier League as well. Remember,
Mm.
so he isn't very old, and Watford are one of the team likely to go down. He's got 9 goals, 5 assists, so he works hard for the team. He's not just an Arsenal goal scorer. He can play off the left, off the right. I think it's a good option to have, and probably get him for again the similar 20-25 mil price.
Yeah, yeah. I think
So
some of these options could work. But one name that you haven't mentioned, Zed, which is I'm gonna just chuck my
go
name
on.
in, and I believe this was a boy that we were going for last summer, but unfortunately wasn't didn't come to anything. Um, is
Who?
Lautaro Martinez from Inter Milan?
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
The
No, no.
the
I knew you
boy
were
knows
mentioning.
where the goal is. You know he's my favourite, right?
Yeah.
And just pulling up his stats because of good old Google being in front of me. He last year he did in 2021 38 appearances, 17 goals,
Hmm.
6 assists. So
Yeah.
you can see he's got that assist business about him as
Yeah.
well. The season before that, 35 appearances, 14 goals and 3 assists. But this season, 26 matches, 14 goals and 2 assists.
Hmm.
So between now and the end of the season, he's likely to beat his best season
Best.
so far. I haven't talked about his Champions League, but he scored 1 goal in 8 matches, which is it's not a bad return, but it probably could be better. But and I believe it was that beautiful goal he scored the other night as well. That
Against Liverpool.
Liverpool, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think if we were gonna be in that scenario where we were gonna go out and the all-out starter striker,
Hmm.
that would be my guy, and I would absolutely be pushing the boat. 75, 80 million, because I think that's about
That's
what is
probably what I'll call him. Yeah,
what is worth.
you're not
That's
going to get him for less than 75, I
that
think.
would be my guy. And I think if you were going to be looking for Felix type players, um, I would rather have Lautaro
No,
Martinez.
I don't think Felix is the type of player for us. Felix
Mm,
is just not it.
I think he's a class player,
I,
and I
you
think he's
know,
technically very gifted.
could
Um,
be, but that's about it, right?
whether he's
Technically,
ready
good
for the
player.
Premier League or not, I
No.
think this guy Martinez, he could almost be, dare I say it, like our Sanchez that we had.
Oh man,
Big comparison. Big
not big
comparison.
comparison.
Yeah.
That's some opening up some old wounds, that is.
Yeah. So he's
But
my guy, and that's who I want. If Mikel Arteta, you're one of our subscribers, you may be a ghost subscriber. I hope you are, because you've listened to some of our things and changed the team accordingly of late, or so we say. Anyway,
that's what we say.
yeah, he would be my guy.
What about the backup?
The backup, I'm in agreement with you. To be honest with you, if it was me and we were going all out and we were wanting to challenge for the league, I
Hmm.
don't think there's any reason why Watkins or, as you stated, from Jesus rather,
Yeah,
from Man
Man
City.
City. Yeah.
I think if we're going to be challenging those, you want a squad, and if you're in Europe in the Champions League,
Hmm.
you need two world class strikers, in my view,
Yeah.
in case
Yeah.
once someone gets injured or suspensions, whatever you call it.
Hmm.
I think that's who I'd go. However, some of these other names you've mentioned, like Dennis, etc., etc., it wouldn't escape me. I wouldn't mind as well.
Yeah. No, no, fair enough. I think that's fine. You go for Martinez. I just would prefer a Premier League proven player, but AO, that's fine. I think for in terms of challenging for the title, I think we're probably about three signings away. We still need a proper midfielder that can play with the party, take over that Xhaka role a bit more. Probably Calvin Phillips, probably Declan Rice, whoever that is. Probably none of them, but yeah,
Yeah.
one of those two.
Zed, let's face it, right? When we were talking about this beginning of the season, these names would be laughable, right? You get yourself in, and we're not there, as I said to you earlier, but you get yourself into the Champions League, and all of a sudden, these names become a reality. It's not a given, by the way.
Mhm.
Big shout
Yeah,
out
of
to my
course, of
guy,
course.
Danny AFC TV. I know we hold very different perspectives and views on this. He's of the view that Champions League now is a given. This is football,
No,
anything
no,
can
no.
happen, but we get there, right? And I'm not saying we should be thinking about your Haalands, because I think they're still out of reach for a team like Arsenal.
Forget
But
about that, man. It's my
but
FIFA.
but certainly the tier that, and certainly Lautaro Martinez and the names that you've mentioned,
Mm.
um, London club, big club with our history and our fans. Um, I don't think that they're not achievable targets.
No, I think they're all achievable, and I think it's about finding deals, it's about picking up players, especially for teams that are being relegated. I mean, Ramsdale's a good example, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's the ambition that these players have to play at the top level in the Premier League. Forget Champions League, at the top level in the Premier League. Even challenging for Europe. So we may not be Champions League, but at least challenging for Europa League or something like that. It's still a big step up for a lot of players.
of
It's
course
not
it
to be
is.
underestimated,
Of
right?
course it,
So
of course it is.
I think these are all relevant and
And it's
players
not
like
just the team as well, because remember we were discussing with our friend earlier in person today that
yeah,
there's this, oh, we're a big club, or we're the third biggest. Actually, really, it's about the project.
it is about the
The
project.
project, in my view,
Trust the process.
has more importance. Absolutely, trust the process has more importance than the team and its history. Now, if you're
Yes.
a mercenary and you're going for your money, you used to go to Chelsea. You don't go to
Hmm.
Chelsea anymore, because they've got no money. Right,
Credit
that's
cards being
right.
declined.
Exactly right. But if you're wanting to develop your career and you go for a team that has got a potential of actually being great, you come to somewhere like Arsenal because the
Hmm.
project is in that direction.
Yeah.
Just my final word on strikers. Sorry, Zed, I have to get
Yeah.
that
Go
in
on.
there.
Go on.
This week, or rather, should I say last week,
Hmm.
Harry Kane became the
Ah,
record goal
yes.
scorer, beating Henry's scoring record of Premier
Yeah.
League goals.
He's got
Okay,
176 now, is he?
absolutely. Now, some may say that's a feat for Kane, right?
Hmm.
But don't ever come and compare Harry Kane to the King Thierry Henry, right? Let me tell you something, Harry Kane, if you're listening, or if you ever get to listen to this, is your 176 goals may have been goals, but not one of them were iconic. Not one of your goals, Harry Kane, you could ever say won you anything or have any substance whatsoever. Your goals have been a waste of effort because they've been for Tottenham, who haven't won anything, won't ever win anything, and are absolute shite. So what a waste of time your career, Harry Kane, has been because meant nothing and you've won nothing, and you will not win anything if you stay with Tottenham.
It's a
Sorry,
waste of talent, mate. It's a waste
it
of
is, and it,
talent.
no. On a serious note, isn't it sad though that you
It is
become the a record goal scorer? You beat the record of one of the most prestigious
decorated.
names and decorated players. So we're talking about World Cups here. We're
We're
talking
talking
about
about
European Cups. We're talking about
we're talking about
Champions League.
everything.
We're
We're talking
talking
about
about a
everything.
guy who has won everything the game has had to win. And the commentators have got the audacity to mention this dude's name in the same breath as Thierry Henry. You should be
Nah,
struck off for that, commentator.
Henri, Henri is and will be a legend and the most elegant. Well, let's not. Elegance is with Burkham, but the most crazy. Honestly, you know what? Just watching him, I'm lost for word. I'm lost for word describing him.
You
If
can
that's what
score
that's
Harry Kane another 100 goals, and you will still never be in the same bracket, in the same conversation as the king that is Thierry Henry. And I think there is enough said on that in that
that's
statement,
it, mate.
Zed, if you
Absolutely,
agree.
absolutely,
Zed,
absolutely.
I think it's time we wrap up.
Yep.
I don't think that there's any. I mean, we can quickly let's touch
When
on
we need to
before
do the
wrapping up
quick thing, yeah.
the Liverpool preview. Look,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
going to
it.
give you my view very quickly on this one,
Go
Zed.
on.
Right? Is I said to you, didn't I, that
Hmm.
today's result was going to be key.
Yep.
Arsenal often don't bounce back very well from defeats.
No,
Arsenal
no, we
often
don't.
have a defeat after a defeat, and that's why I thought today, if we won and it was a convincing performance, which I think
It was.
on the whole it was convincing. We were generally comfortable all through the game, managed it very well. I think we're going to get something from the Liverpool game, and that's my prediction. I'm not saying we'll play them off the carpet,
Hmm.
but I think a draw is possibly, and I'll take a draw. By the way, I'll take a
Hmm.
draw. I think
Okay.
I think we're talking about quite tight margins. I think we'll defend really well,
Yep.
and I think it will probably end up somewhere along a sort of 1-1, or at worst case we'll lose 1-0.
1-0. Okay, no, that's plausible based on today's result, based on what it is. I think, for me, I think we're still about 3 levels below Liverpool, where they
Yeah.
are as a team, where they are as a player, with where they are with the
We're at
coach that they
home
have.
though here, Zed. Don't
We
forget.
are, we are, we are, and I think in recent times we've had good results against Liverpool when we've actually been on form. I remember the 1-1 with Lacazette scoring, rounding Allison, that kind of stuff. But
Yeah,
we've also been smashed a lot in recent times by
yeah,
Liverpool, right? 4-0s, 5-0s, whatever you have it, they have smashed us. We did play good against in them in the Carabao Cup with the red cards letting us
yeah,
down.
yeah.
So
And
I
it's so
completely,
good, isn't it, that we've recently played them as well.
yeah, yeah, I know, I completely get it, right?
It's
But
not like
obviously,
there'd be stage fright or anything
no,
like
no,
that. No.
I don't think that plays into the mind of these players anymore. I think that there's no such thing. I don't think these kids, which they are kids, are afraid of playing any team now. So what I'll say is, it's a Wednesday night game.
Yeah,
Liverpool played earlier this weekend. We played this weekend, so it's going to be fair. Everyone's going to be similarly tired, right?
yeah,
What I'll say is, I think we are still a bit below Liverpool, so I'm gonna say 2-1. I want us to score. I just want us to score, right? I would take a 2-1, and I would take a 2-0 as well. But for me, I'm gonna go with 2-1. I am absolutely happy to be wrong. I wish I'm wrong,
yeah.
right? But realistically, I think it's gonna be 2-1. or 2-0.
I think Klopp will be worried about us, and I don't mean
Should be. He should
yeah,
be.
yeah. I think he'll look at our form and he'll think, especially at home, these these guys that injuries, they're looking fresh. They've got a fresh squad as well. So if someone
Hmm.
has to come in, you know, I honestly I think today was key. Really, I think if we'd have struggled today, I think we'd have probably gone on to lose against Liverpool. I
Hmm.
really do think that we're going to get something out of that game. But hey, listen, this is why we love the beautiful game, the unpredictability
Absolutely.
of the Premier League.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Look, Zed, thank you very much. Look, I'm going to just very, very quickly let our listeners know that we've got some
Yeah.
very exciting things coming up in the pod as we
Yes. Yes,
continue
we
to
have.
develop this over the next few months. We will be bringing on, won't we, fans of other clubs, helping us to
Yes.
preview games before them, and also helping us to break
Review
them
games.
down absolutely after them. So watch this space. The word is getting out there about our pod, and it is causing some traction. We need to be behind our team, and we really look forward to sharing these experiences with any gunner who wants to come on. But also, we're opening the doors to
Hmm.
other team fans as well. So if you want to come on, follow us on Twitter and speak to us directly, and we will get you on. No problem.
Absolutely, man.
As I keep
Absolutely.
saying to you, we guys, as long as you come on and be respectful, we're happy to have you on and talk football. I've been Harry Carnu, HARRYKHAU, sorry, KHANU for Twitter. And Zed, you want to plug yours before I go? I
Yeah.
always get that wrong, don't I?
Yeah. Yeah. It's becoming a thing now.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
becoming a
yeah, 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 yeah.
it's becoming a
Harry
mainstay.
Carnu, just put it in, you'll
Erica.
find me. Come on, at Harry Carnu. Come on, do it. Yeah, come on, Zed.
You can catch me at ZED_DAGP, which is the All Gunners podcast, it stands for. But yeah, drop us a DM like Harry says, and we'll get you on as early as we can. Honestly, we love to hear from other fans, other people who are interested in football, right? Who want to talk football. We're just football fans, and we want to talk to football fans. That's basically it.
Good to speak to you guys. Zed, always brilliant to host and co-host with you, whichever
As
order we're
always,
doing
mate.
in.
Same.
And look, fingers crossed, toes crossed, everything crossed for Wednesday night. Guys, love you all. Peace and blessings. God bless you all. Take care. Speak to you soon.